Okay, so let's take a look at, go to the Airflow. And let's see, we do G training and training. How about we do the loan calculator? Okay, so I come here, loan calculator. If I put 1,000, I'm getting 30. But generally, with one value, you don't know whether it's working, behaving correctly or not. Sometimes you have to send in 1,500. Okay, see 40, if you are getting 45. You might send in maybe 50,000 and you are getting 1,500. So you might have to run multiple values, not just one, right? So you need to be able to supply the list of values in your recorded test case. And the test case should run and validate all those different values without you re-recording 50 times. If you have 50 lists, 50 values, I mean, unless you record 50 times, that's the only way, right? Otherwise, you have to record. But you don't want to do that. You want to be smart, right? You want to record once, supply the list of values, and see if you are getting the correct result.
Valid ones,
yeah, you can do invalid one. I mean, if you do whatever, SDF, you should be able to validate this one. But that's not the scenario I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you are supplying valid list of values, you should always get those matching values, basically. Because it could be that developer has hard-coded certain things, or logic may not work with different range of values. So you definitely want to check on that. Right? So that's the scenario I'm talking about. How can you use the tool to basically work through that? So let me just show you quickly. There are other things here, right? So we looked at the test case and repository, but you also have an option of data files. Okay. Now data files, you can create a new test data. Okay. So here, let me say loan calc input. Okay. So this is a data file here, and you can supply the different files here. So if I have Excel file, I can pull that in. Do I have it? Do I have it? So I can supply the Excel file with the loan amount and the monthly loan payment. So I might have 50 different loan amounts and 50 different verification items, right? In Excel file. Or I can do something similar. So there are a bunch of options when I try to create it, right? It says Excel file or CSV file or database. I can have values coming from the database as well, or I can have internal data. Let me use internal data for now. So then I can show you internal data. Okay. And let me say loan calculator. Input, and I'll just say internal data so that I can distinguish. Okay. Internal data means my data file is stored within the tool Katalon Studio, and I can supply the list of values to the test case. Okay. So when I click on that, it gives me two things here. First thing, what are the values that I want to supply? So let me come back here, loan calculator. So what I'm saying is, if I supply 5,000, I should get $150. If I supply 10,000, I should get $300, and so forth. So I can come up with a list, right? So let me quickly come up with a list. For that, first you need to define the columns. So it's more like Excel spreadsheet in the tool. So let me quickly add the column. Let's say I'm calling it as a loan amount, right? First column. Okay. And the second column would be monthly payment. So these two columns, I'm creating more like Excel type of thing here. Now I can go and add basically values here. So monthly amount, if I say 1,500 or 1,000, let's start with 1,000. What should I get back? $30. right? Dollar space 30, because this is how it's shown over there. If I get 2,000, I should get $60. If I get 1,500, so I should get $45. Okay. Make sure your test data is correct. Right? So it's the spaces. You have $60, $40, and $30. Okay. So now, in order to do that, you have to go back to your test case, which is a loan calculator valid amount. Right now, the values are hard-coded here. $500. So I need to use that data, whatever I specified, and pull it here in the test case. So that's where the concept comes here of variables. Okay, variables. So variables are what? In-memory data structures. Basically, those are variables. Those are, you can store some data in the memory when you are running your test case. Okay, so variables, basically, you can define the variables and pass it to your different values here. So because I have two different values, I need two different variables because I have two different data structure. Okay. So how do you add the variables? I'm going to say variable for first one is loan amount. I'm going to keep the same name as what I defined in the data structure. Okay. And the default value is blank, which is fine. We are not defining the value. Second one is monthly payment. Okay. So I declare two variables. They are all good for now. Okay. Now I will go back to my calculator here. Oops, manual. I need to, instead of 5,000, I need to say, let's have the value from the variable. Okay. So what I can do is, I need to change these values to the variable, tie to the variable. So I go back to change the value, but again, I can't type in anything here. I cannot say variable. So what I need to do is the value type. Okay. And this one has many options. It says variable, global variable, test data value, method call, blah, blah, blah. We need the variable here. So if I say that, and if I come here, second one, now I can select one of these variables. It will pop up. Okay, so this is a loan amount. So I'm going to select that, click OK. Same thing, I will repeat the process, value type to variable, and I'll select the monthly payment. Okay, so that's the first part. It's good, right?
But now, this is a number. Why you are taking it as a string? Why not it is an integer?
No, because everything is a string on the browser. Okay. Browser doesn't know whether it's a number or integer.
Okay.
It's just a text, right? That's what we are saying, text. So it's all basically is a string. Whether it's a 150 or not, I mean, it's a string in the browser. That's why. Okay, so that's why I'm taking it as a parameter type as a string, type as a string. Okay, now obviously there are other values might be available, but generally for the browsers, it's always a string. Okay, so I tied these two variables. Now, these variables doesn't have really any value because we haven't. It's not automatically tied to the data values here that we defined, right? We need to read the values from here, populate in the variable, then the variable will run those test cases one by one with the different values. So how do I populate the variables so that how do I bind this variable to the list that we have? So that's the part missing. So that's where you see menu, script, we know it, variables, we know it because we define the variables. If I go to the script mode, it will just show me this definition in the script mode, the variable definitions. Okay, it just says loan amount, and it's XML again, right? Everything is XML. So it just shows you this is a variable name, this is a variable name, and that's all. So we will ignore the script mode. The important part is data binding. Okay. So this is where you need to bind these two variables to the data that you define. The way you can do it is under test data, you can say add data. You can pick the list of data sets. First one is the Excel one, right? Which doesn't have any bind by anything. This is the one we want to use, internal data. Okay, so I can do that. Click, check it, click OK. All right. Now, how do this variable know what column to bind to? Remember, this one has two columns, right? So there is a good thing. If the variable name is same as whatever column names are there, you can do simply map all, and it will automatically map it. Okay. So if I do map all, see what happens in this section. Click on map all. Okay. It says found 0 matches. So let's see. Loan amount, monthly amount. So we'll come back here. Loan amount. Oh, monthly payment. Okay. So I have monthly payment. It's from monthly amount. This one says loan amount. So let's see what's wrong with it. So loan amount, monthly payment. Do I have same thing? Loan amount, monthly payment. What are my variable names? Loan amount, monthly payment. Okay. All right. So it didn't find the match. So let's see here. Oh, I did not save it. Okay. You have to save it first. Everything. And I have this column. Let's see if I can delete it. That one. Make sure you save it. Okay. Come back here. Let's see if this time found 2 matches. So I did not save it. So that's why it was thinking the list is empty. Okay, there is no value. But now it says found 2 matches. As soon as I click on OK, it will start map out here in the bottom. Okay. This test data, what data values and what column it's mapping. Okay, again, we need to save it. All right, so now everything is hooked up properly. This is data binding part. This is the variables we created, and we hooked up variable with the step. Okay, so now all I have to do is run it, see what happens, right? So let's see what happens here. If everything is hooked up properly, then we should get the right results. Okay, so it's trying to run it. So G training, this is the first one. 1030, okay. So that first one is done. So it's going through the second one now. This is 2000, okay. Second one is done. $1,545, and all three seems like a past. Okay, so all I have to do in future, just populate the list with the different values. Keep on adding. If I find it, doesn't matter. It will run 500 times without you doing anything else. Now, this is kind of like a common scenario in the testing world, automation testing. You have to deal with it. You just need to know how you can hook up the proper things. Okay. Data binding part, yep, understand that. Yeah, you define your data, right? In the data files, whether it can be Excel file, I could have simply the same thing in the Excel file. You just read it.
Excel file.
Yeah.
So
that's correct. That's correct. Or CSV is nothing but comma separated values. Again, with the 2 columns, loan amount and monthly payment. And as long as you define your variables with the same name, it will automatically map it. Otherwise, you can always map it manually. Basically, just pick the different columns from there. What column you want to map to the variable. Okay. Any question on this one? It seems complicated, right? It seems complicated. No, which I completely understand.
You have to go through again.
Yes, so I have this recorded, right? So you can go through this at home. Loan calculator one, you have to go through, right? There are a couple of more for the homework, right? So, but if you know this part, that means you are, at least you know the basics of the Katalon, how it works. Just like that, I mean, there is one more thing, since we are talking about this. Now here, the hard coding part, right? Now, how we can improve on the hard coding. So I have this URL here. This test case also has a URL. If I go to the menu, right? Then you have this URL is used here everywhere. You are hard coding technically. But if something changes tomorrow, let's say there is a different URL, then you have to change all 500 test cases, go one by one. You don't want to do that. So how you can avoid that? Because that's a common scenario for you. So that's where you go to the profile. So there are two types of variables. One is a simply variable or local variable, which is available for that test case only. There is a second type is available as a global variable. Okay, so global variables are available in all the test cases that you have. So what you do is you define the variable in the profile, default profile that is with there. Let me just create one and I'll show you. So I'll come here and say rflown. You can define whatever you want, right? rflown URL. I'm just giving it in there. It has a string type and the value is whatever I want to type in. rflown.azure websites.net. Okay, so this is my site and I will just click OK. So I just defined the global variable, which is available in all my test cases. Anywhere I can use it. So if I go to dealer user now, I have hard coded, I can get rid of it. So I come here, a value type, I will select a global variable. Okay, and I'll come here. Okay, why it didn't show up? Why? Because I did not save it, right? Maybe I saved it, maybe I did not. All right, let's say everything saved. Okay. All right, so let's see if we come back here. Oh, value type. Yep, there you go. All right, now our rflown URL is showing up. So it's tool is smart. I mean, it recognizes what you have. So you just need to pick it. Just need to know where to pick it. So at this point, I'm done. I'm save it. I come back to the second one, repeat the same process. Global variable, rflown, good. And then come to the third one. Well, third one we didn't have any. So, but anyway, anywhere you have it, and now if I run it, you're not going to see any difference. It will still work. The only thing is your URL is defined in a global variable. So now you just define a global variable, you have the variables. But that's part of the basic structure, okay, or for these test cases. You have the spy web, remember? That's a good tool to have. You can add the objects later on, even if you recorded the test, and how you can work through it. Yep, so this one just passed as well. All right, any question on these things? So now,
Start working on
it. Yes. No, I completely understand, right?